Okay, welcome. This is Unit 1, Lesson 2. We are talking about hourly wage. So we can't just call it the word wage by itself. We must use the word hourly in front of it. So we're talking about our gross income, and our gross income is the amount of money we get every pay period before any deductions. So what are deductions? Well, deductions are things that are subtracted from your paycheck. Okay, so they are subtracted from the gross. And once they're subtracted from the gross, that's when you get your net income, which is what we're going to talk about in lesson 9. So currently, we need to also chat about what is a shift premium. So if you work extra hours outside your normal work day, that is going to be considered a shift premium or overtime. So we get what's called an overtime wage. Okay, and that is an hourly wage. Let me put that number in there. We need hourly. Okay, and again, that's hourly. Okay, hourly wage. So when we take a look at this hourly wage, we typically are going to times by 1.5 if they say time and a half. Okay, so that's what we multiply by. Okay, so we have a couple different things. Shift premiums are what you add. So a shift premium, it is also for your overtime wage. You are going to add the shift premium to your regular hourly wage. So that means how much you make per hour. So with this first question, it says Sheila earns $13.20 per hour as a cashier at a hardware store. Last week, she worked 25 hours. What is her gross income? So gross income is strictly going to be taking a look at, okay, we have $13.20 per hour, and we multiply it by the total number of hours. So we're multiplying it by 25 hours. And that's going to give us a total of $330. Now, with money, it is super important to make sure you're always putting your dollar sign. This is what we call your hourly wage. Hourly wage. It is called your hourly wage, and it has got a slash there. That slash actually means per or each or every. Okay, so it means any of those answers. So it's saying you're making $13.20 each day, or sorry, each hour, or per hour, or every hour. Okay, we're going to box or circle our final answers. So let's take a look at Jody. So now she's going to work a shift premium. So when we do questions like this, we need to find what's called our overtime pay. So our overtime hourly wage, like we discussed at the very top there, that's what we need to talk about. So our overtime hourly wage is either going to be multiplied by 1.5 or it's going to be adding a shift premium. It's going to be one or the other. So the first one we want to find is our regular pay, how much she gets paid for regular time, plus her OT. OT stands for overtime. So her overtime pay. So for her regular pay, we're going to have $12.40 an hour times, we had 75 hours, 35 on evening and 20 on weekends. And it says when she works evenings or weekends, she gets a shift premium. So that means we have to subtract 75, subtract 55, because we have 35 and 20, and that's what we're making on our overtime hours. Okay. Oh, actually, they're not asking us to subtract in this question, actually. It is 75 hours plus we have, so now I'm going to have $930. And my overtime pay, this is where we take our our wage. Okay, so our overtime hourly wage is what we're finding. So what we do is we take our regular wage, $12.40, and we have a shift premium, so we're adding it. We don't just make the shift premium. We make both together. So when we add them together, you're actually going to be making $13.65 per hour overtime. So that's our overtime rate of pay. So we get $13.65, and now it's times our overtime hours. And our overtime hours, so overtime hourly wage, and now our overtime hours, we have 35 and 20, which is a total of 55 hours overtime. Now we multiply our overtime hours. That's going to give us $750.75. If I want your total gross pay, that means everything all together, you're going to add those numbers. So now we're going to get our final paycheck will be $1,680.75. This is a typical 2.5 or 3 mark question. Actually, this would be a 3 mark question. You would get 1 mark for finding regular pay, 2 marks. Your second mark is going to be for finding your overtime pay. You're going to get 0.5 for the answer and 0.5 for finding your overtime rate of pay, which that number goes right there. Okay, so sometimes that's why this section right here could be 1.5 marks. Okay, example 3, we have Jan. She worked 27 hours at the library, and we want to find and compare to Anne. Who made more and how much? So we have Jan over here, and we have Anne over here. So Jan had $12.75 an hour times her 27 hours. So that's going to give us Jan. And Jan makes $344.25. That would be her paycheck. Anne, on the other hand, she makes $9.85 an hour. It's not as much, but she works way more hours, 34 hours. So now we're going to figure out who makes more money. So more hours, but does it mean more money? Well, we get $334. It doesn't always mean more money. So that would be our final answer there. Now we have to say who earned more and how much. So we would circle Jan made more money because 344 is bigger than 334. So now we subtract. We take the big number, subtract the small number. So we're going to take our 344 and 25 cents and subtract $334.90. And that's going to give us a difference of $9.35 more. So we would say Jan made that much more. Okay, so Jan made $9.35 more than Ann did. All right, now we're talking time. When we want to convert time and fraction as a fraction or a decimal, we're going to look at the clock. And we're going to cut the clock into 4 pieces. So we have 9 o'clock here, 3 o'clock here, we have 12 noon, and we have 6 p.m. or 6 in the morning. Going from 12 to 3 for minutes, 12 to 3 for minutes is 15 minutes. 3 from the 3 to the 6 is another 15 minutes. So this is 15, this is 15. So that's a total of 30 minutes. If I added another 15 minutes, this is going to give me 45 minutes. And if I add another 15 minutes, that's going to give me 60 minutes for a full hour. So that's our minutes. Now, if we want to convert those to decimals, We divided the object into 4. So that means this is 1 out of 4 as a decimal is equal to 0.25. So that means 15 minutes is 0.25 of an hour. 30 minutes is 2 over 4. So 30 minutes is going to be 0.5 hours. That's equal to 30 minutes. 45 minutes, we get 3 over 4. And 3 over 4 is going to be 75, 0.75 of an hour. So 45 minutes is 0.75 of an hour. And then we have 1 full hour would be 1.0. So if we take a look at our time in minutes, we want it as a decimal. So 15 minutes, I'm going to look for the number 15. I look on my chart, 15, I see my 15, and it's going to be 0.25. So I would write 0.25 of an hour. Okay, fraction of an hour, that's going to be 1 over 4, 2 over 4. And now I'm going backwards. I'm working 3 over 4 as a decimal, 0.75 of an hour. How do I know? All I'm doing is top divide bottom, 3 divide 4. And now I look at my clock that I drew. 0.75 of an hour is going to be 45 minutes. 0.5 of an hour, half of an hour, is 30 minutes. And now we're going to discuss turning our clock into the 24-hour clock. So turn your page to page 5. So now we want to convert the hour time to minutes and hours. So all we do when we have a situation like this is we are taking our decimal number and we're timesing it by 60. That actually gives me the minutes. So if I go 0.5 times 60, 0.5 times 60, that's going to give me how many minutes? That'll give me 30 minutes. So you use the decimal, you keep the decimal, and my 9 would be my hours. Looking down at B, we're going to have 6 is my hours, and now I would go 0.75 times 60, or I would look at my clock, and I would say that that is 45 minutes. 0.25 of an hour, I would have my 0.25 times 60, and that's going to give me 15 minutes and 1900 hours. 0.7, I'm going to take 0.7 times 60, and that's going to give me 42 minutes. So when it's not exactly 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 45 minutes, you've got to be specific by multiplying by 60 so that we get the exact amount of minutes. And again, our 13 would stay there for the hours. All right, now we're going to go backwards on number 6. We're going to go the opposite way. So now we look at our clock, and now instead of timesing the number by 60, we're going to divide the minutes by 60, and that equals our decimal. So 4 is our first number, then I put my decimal, and now I take 30 divide 60, and that'll give me 0.5. Over here, same idea. I use my 18, I put a decimal, and now I divide 45 by 60, and I get 75. Here I'm using 24 as my first number. I'm putting my decimal. I divide 15 by 60, and I get 0.25. 8 is the number in front of my decimal. I'm going to divide 12 by 60. And that's going to give me, dividing 12 by 60, that's going to give me exactly 0.2 hours. Okay, this part here gives you this. That gives you the end of your decimal. Okay. All right, now we have to figure out the large times. So if I said you are working hours, days, and weeks, all we're multiplying is the digits. 7 times 5 times 52. And that's going to give me 1,820 hours. That's your total number of hours. The next one, we're going to take 8.5 hours per day times 6 days a week, times 50 weeks. So we have our days, our weeks, our hours, our days, our weeks. So hours, days, weeks. Before we had same thing, hours, days, weeks. And we multiply them and we're going to get 2,550 hours. Now the next one just says how many weeks, and then it says years. Well, we have to figure out how many weeks are in a year. So we're going to have 36, that's our hours, times our weeks. So we have 52 weeks per year, times our years, 4 years. So this one had a number missing. We had to come up with that number missing. So that's going to give us a total of 7,488 hours. The last one, it talks months and years. So we've got 95 hours times months. They don't tell us months. They tell us the name, 12 months. There's our months. Times 2 years. There's our years. We're going to get 2,280 hours. So again, we had a number missing. We needed to know that months meant 12 months per year. Now, when we start dealing with actual clocks, the easiest way, and I'm just going to write it up here, for clocks, the first thing you should do is change the times, or instead of change, convert the times to the 24-hour clock. Now, how do we do that? We do that by adding 12 to each hour in the afternoon, to each hour, whoopsie, I forgot the word hour, for each hour past lunch. Each hour past lunch, which is 12 noon. So that means 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. becomes 1 plus 12 becomes 1,300 hours. 2 p.m. I would have 2 plus 12 to give me 1,400 hours. Now we need to be converted into each of those, and then the last step is we subtract. So we take our end time, our ending time, subtract our starting time. And that equals the amount of time passed. That equals the time passed. How much time passed, okay? How long it took. So if we start with number 8 here, if we say this is 9 a.m., this guy is 900 hours, this guy here is going to be 1314. He's going to be 1,400 hours. 1,400 plus, this is 30 minutes. 30 minutes would be 50 of 100, half, plus 50. Okay, 50 is half. So now we're going to have 1,450 subtract 900. That's going to give us exactly 550 hours. Well, that's 550 hours, which means 5.5 hours. So 5.5 hours passed, or 5 hours and 30 minutes. Now, you could also do it this other way. You could do it by counting and doing what's called loops, just counting on your fingers or looping it on a diagram. So if I said and pretended that this guy started at 12, I can't start at 11 because my big hand is not at the 12, it's past. So if I pretend to start at the 12, I would be going to the 3. So 1, 2, that's 3 hours. So from 12 to 3 is 3 hours, and then I've got this many minutes. I've got 45 minutes to add. So I would have 3 hours and 45 minutes went by. You could also call that 3.75 hours. Both are correct. Turn your page. Now we're going to find out the start time and end time. When they give us digits like this, again, when it says PM, you got to convert to the 24-hour clock. So you're adding 12 to the first number, which makes it 15. And then you got to convert your minutes into a decimal. That's 75 out of 100. So that's 12.75. This guy becomes 8.25 of an hour. And now we subtract. So 15.75 minus 8.25 hours is going to give us 7.50. So that means 7.5 hours is how much you worked. Now you took a time on break, which means you subtract that hour. So you totally worked 6.5 hours that day. Okay, example 10, we're going to do the exact same thing. So all of the PM we are going to convert. So we're going to add 12. So that's going to be 1,400 hours. Okay, so we've got 14. So it's going to be N subtract. So this is going to be 1,400 subtract 900, which is 500. You put the decimal before the zeros. So that means there's 5 hours. So these two together make 5. We subtract the hour on break. So this is our A, B, C, D, E, and F. So hours worked is going to be B, subtract A, subtract C. So that's going to give us 5 hours, subtract 1 hour is 4 hours worked. Now we multiply it by the hourly wage, and then we get gross pay. And that's going to be $23.60. We're going to do the same thing with the next 3 questions. We're going to find out how much time has gone by. So we're going to take 55 and add 12. Okay, so that's going to be 17. So 1,700 minus 1,100, that's going to give us 6 hours. So I have 6 hours minusing 30 minutes. That's going to give me a total of 5.5 hours. So I get 5.5 hours times by my hourly wage, and that's going to give me $39.33. We're going to do the exact same thing with the next question. So 4 p.m., I'm adding 12. That becomes 1,600 hours. So I get 1,630. The 30 becomes 1,150 because 30 is half, and half of 100 is 50. So we get 1,600 subtracting 1,150 is going to give us 4.5 hours. So that's going to give us 450. We put our decimal in. We're going to have 4.5 hours that we're subtracting. So we would put it up here, 4.5 hours, subtracting 15 minutes, 0.25. Well, that's going to end up being 4.25, 4 hours and 15 minutes. Timesing by our hourly wage to give us $30.86. The 3 o'clock, we're going to add 12 to the 3 and get 15. Now 15 minutes, 15 out of 100. That's going to give us 0.25. So that's 15.25. And over here, that's going to give us 7.50. So I'm going to take my 15.25 and subtract 7.50. Remember your decimals. Okay, this is going to give us exactly 7.75 hours. And I'm going to get 7.75 hours subtracting 1.75 hours. That's going to give us a total of 6 hours. Timesing by our hourly wage to give us $186.96. Example 11, Dylan went to work at 11:30 and he took a break from 2:30 to 3. Then he left work at 7:30. So let's find out how many hours took place from 11:30 to 2:30. If we count 11:30 to 12:30 is 1 hour, to 1:30 is 2 hours, to 2:30 is going to be 3 hours. So we had 3 hours in the morning. Then he took a half hour break. So he worked 3 hours so far. Then he worked from 3 to 7:30. So if I take 7:30, which is 50, and I subtract 3 o'clock, I'm going to get 4:50, so 4.5 hours. So I add 4.5 hours. That's going to be a total of 7.5 hours. We multiply by the hourly wage of $12.50 per hour. And that's going to give us a total of $93.75 total gross. Now, with this table, we're going to work backwards. And we have another one that was missing on here. So we're going to work backwards. So here we would multiply to equal this. So working backwards, going this way, we're going to divide. So going this way, we're going to divide. When I do that, so this is A, B, C. To get this, we are going to get C dividing by B. So that's going to give me $10.75 per hour. And I do the same thing on the second question, and I'm going to get $11.25 an hour.